This video is about. She entered the playground, and a billionaire made her laugh. If this story touches your heart, please mention where you are watching from in the comments. Please like the video and share your thoughts in comments. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm, golden hue over the park. Children chased one another, their laughter echoing through the air while parents chatted, sipping coffee or glancing at their phones. It was a typical Saturday at Maplewood Park, the kind of place where the routine of life slowed and the innocence of childhood ruled. Emma Foster stood at the entrance of the playground, her heart racing slightly with an anticipation she couldn't fully explain. She had come to this park countless times, but today felt different, charged with a kind of energy that made her skin tingle. The scent of freshly cut grass mingled with the sweet aroma of cotton candy from a nearby vendor, enveloping her in a nostalgic embrace. As she stepped inside, her gaze was drawn to a group of children who were gleefully building a fortress out of sand. Nearby, a rather boisterous boy was attempting to launch himself off the swings, much to the amusement of his friends. Emma chuckled softly, a sound she hadn't realized she'd missed. Her days often merged into each other, filled with meetings at her marketing firm, deadlines, and occasional moments of solitude that felt almost suffocating. But this playground, with its vibrant colors and infectious laughter, offered a respite from her daily grind. It was a chance to remember, if only for a moment, what it was like to be free. Just as she settled onto a bench, a loud commotion erupted from the other side of the playground. Emma turned to see a tall figure, undeniably striking, standing out against the chaotic scene. He was impeccably dressed in a crisp navy blazer over a white t-shirt, his dark jeans perfectly fitted. A tussle of unruly hair framed his face, and there was an air of confidence that surrounded him like a halo. "Hey, watch it!" he called out, his voice carrying over the sound of children. Emma squinted to see what had happened. A soccer ball had careened off course, hitting him squarely in the leg. Instead of reacting with annoyance, he laughed, a full-bodied sound that filled the air, resonating with warmth. Emma found herself smiling at the absurdity of it all. There was something magnetic about him, a mix of charm and playfulness that made her heart flutter. She watched as he bent down, picked up the ball, and threw it back with a precision that suggested he played often. "Nice aim!" a young girl shouted, her pigtails bouncing as she ran toward him. "Thanks. You should see me at the office," he replied, winking. "I'm the reigning champion of the copy room soccer league." Emma bit her lip to suppress a laugh. What kind of billionaire claimed to be a champion of office soccer? She couldn't help but feel intrigued. He noticed her then, those striking blue eyes locking onto hers with an intensity that sent her heart racing. Emma felt an unexpected warmth spread through her. For a moment, the world around them faded. The laughter, the shouts, the mundane existence of being a 30-something marketing executive vanished. "Care to join?" he called, gesturing to the swings as if they were the most enticing invitation in the world. She hesitated, unsure. I don't think I'm quite your league," she replied, her voice steady despite the butterflies swirling in her stomach. "Leagues are overrated," he countered with a playful grin. "I'm Ethan, by the way. And you look like you could use a little fun." "Emma," she introduced herself, her cheeks heating under his gaze. "And I think you might be mistaken. Fun is not exactly on my agenda today." "Then let's change that," he insisted, an earnestness in his tone that made her heart flutter. "Come on, swings await." Before she could protest, he was jogging toward her, his long legs effortlessly covering the distance. Emma felt the pull of spontaneity, a desire to break free from the routine that held her captive. But there was also a nagging doubt, a voice in her head whispering the reasons why she shouldn't engage with someone like him. "Okay, why not?" she relented, a smile breaking through her uncertainty. As they approached the swings, the air between them crackled with unspoken tension. Emma was surprised at how easily they fell into conversation, the banter flowing as naturally as the breeze rustling through the trees. "So, what do you do when you're not stealing soccer balls?" she asked, swinging gently, her feet barely grazing the sand. "I run a tech startup," Ethan replied, his gaze steady. "But it often feels like I'm just playing a long game of dodgeball with investors." He smiled, and for a moment, Emma felt a flicker of empathy. "Sounds intense," she said, swinging a little higher, feeling a rush of adrenaline. "I can't imagine dealing with that kind of pressure." "It has its moments," he admitted, his expression suddenly turning serious. "But honestly, those moments pale in comparison to the fun you can have on a swing." He swung higher, his laughter echoing through the park, and Emma couldn't help but join in. The tension shifted subtly, becoming charged with an undeniable chemistry that made her heart race. "Okay, Mr. Billionaire, let's see who can go higher," she challenged, a playful smirk on her lips. "Game on," he replied, his eyes sparkling with delight. As they competed, swinging higher and higher, Emma felt free, more alive than she had in ages. It was as if the worries of her job, her responsibilities, and the weight of her expectations melted away. But just as she began to lose herself in the moment, a nagging thought crept into her mind. What if this was just a fleeting encounter? Would he even remember her tomorrow? Deep down, she was aware of the differences in their worlds, the disparity that hung between them like a thread waiting to snap. Ethan's laughter pulled her from her thoughts. "You've got some serious swing skills, Emma. Just don't forget who you're dealing with," she teased back. "Marketing experts are trained in the art of persuasion. I could convince you to invest in a swing company." "Now that's a pitch I'd like to hear," he said, still swinging beside her, the distance between them almost electric. It was easy to flirt, to banter, but beneath the surface, Emma felt something deeper stirring within her, a yearning for connection. Her heart raced as she caught his gaze. There was something in the way he looked at her that sent her thoughts spiraling. Okay, he said, slowing down his swing. "But tell me, Emma, what do you really want?" Her heart skipped a beat at the intensity of his question. What did she want? In that moment, she wanted to lean into the chemistry between them, to explore this unexpected connection. But the shadows of her doubts loomed, whispering caution in her ear. "I want," she began, but the words caught in her throat. "Just a bit of fun, right?" he interrupted, a hint of mischief dancing in his eyes. Emma laughed, but the sound felt bittersweet. "Yeah, something like that." But as the laughter faded, the weight of unspoken words hung between them, thick with potential. She could feel the tension building, the air around them charged with an electric energy that promised something more. "Let's grab a drink afterward," Ethan suggested, his tone shifting slightly as he met her gaze with a seriousness that made her pulse quicken. It was an invitation, an opportunity to step beyond the confines of the playground, and yet Emma hesitated. "What if I'm just a distraction?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Distraction or not, I'd like to find out," he replied, his expression earnest, the intensity of the moment palpable. Emma felt the heat rise to her cheeks. She wanted to say yes, to dive headfirst into whatever this was, but fear clawed at her, a fear of getting hurt, of being out of her depth. "Let me think about it," she finally said, unable to mask the uncertainty in her voice. "Fair enough, Emma," he replied, a hint of disappointment flickering in his eyes, but he masked it with a charming smile. "I'll be at the coffee stand if you change your mind." With that, he stood and walked away, leaving Emma in a whirlwind of thoughts and feelings. The playground around her buzzed with laughter and life, but all she could focus on was the lingering scent of his cologne, the warmth of his laughter, and the undeniable chemistry that had sparked between them. How could one encounter change everything? Emma didn't know, but she felt the pull, the magnetic draw toward Ethan that promised to unravel the tightly woven threads of her life. And as the sun dipped lower on the horizon, casting long shadows across the playground, she knew something had shifted forever. With a deep breath, she watched him disappear into the crowd, contemplating the possibilities that lay ahead. Would she join him or walk away? The choice would be hers, and for the first time in a long while, the thought excited her. Emma sat on the swing, her feet dragging through the sand as she watched Ethan walk away. She felt a strange mixture of exhilaration and trepidation, a swirling storm inside her that mirrored the gentle breeze rustling the leaves above. "Why do I always overthink things?" she muttered to herself, feeling a pang of regret as she recalled the warmth in Ethan's eyes. They had shared a moment, a brief escape from their routines, but now it felt like she'd let it slip through her fingers. The laughter of children echoed around her, grounding her with the reminder of how simple life could be. It was the purity of their joy that struck her. They didn't worry about life's complexities or the weight of expectations. She envied that innocence. As she pushed herself higher on the swing, she caught sight of Ethan leaning against the coffee stand, his tall frame silhouetted against the fading light. His gaze scanned the crowd, and for a moment, she thought he was looking for her. With a sigh, she felt the familiar tug of curiosity. What would it hurt to just talk to him? She mused, her heart racing at the thought. She didn't know if she was ready for more than just a playful encounter, but the possibility shimmered like sunlight on water, beckoning her closer. Just as she was about to slide off the swing, she noticed a group of women approaching Ethan, their laughter bright and carefree. One of them tossed her hair back, leaning in closer to him as she spoke. Emma's stomach twisted, a wave of jealousy washing over her that she couldn't quite understand. Is this how he spends his Saturdays? She thought, her heart sinking. Surrounded by beautiful women, the moment felt like a cruel reminder of their different worlds. She was a marketing executive, caught up in the grind of corporate life, while Ethan seemed to exist in a realm of privilege and ease. Emma, a voice broke through her thoughts. It was Sarah, one of her friends from work, and she appeared as though she'd just stepped into a scene from a rom-com, her vibrant floral dress swaying in the breeze. "What are you doing here?" "Just enjoying the park," Emma replied, forcing a smile. She felt a rush of relief mixed with guilt as she saw Sarah's familiar face. "You look a bit out of your element," Sarah said, glancing toward Ethan and the group of women. "What's going on over there?" "Nothing, really," Emma said too quickly, her gaze flickering back to Ethan, now animatedly chatting and laughing. "Just some guy who thinks he's a soccer star." Sarah raised an eyebrow, a teasing smile spreading across her face. "He's the one who threw the ball at you, right? He's kinda cute, like Billionaire cute. You should go talk to him." Emma shook her head, a soft laugh escaping her lips. "I don't think he's interested in someone like me. He's probably got a line of women waiting to chat with him." The words tasted bitter, and she felt the vulnerability creep in. "Come on, Emma." Sarah nudged her shoulder playfully. "You can't let some pretty boys intimidate you. You've got a great vibe, and you're way more interesting than his pretty friends." "Thanks, I think," Emma replied, her cheeks coloring slightly. But I think I just need some air." "Fine, I'll let you whine," Sarah laughed, but her tone softened. "Just remember, life is short. Don't let it pass you by." As Sarah walked off to find a seat on a nearby bench, Emma couldn't shake off the unease. She was a strong, independent woman, yet here she was feeling small and insecure. Taking a deep breath, she stood up, brushing the sand off her dress. She turned to walk back toward the coffee stand, her heart pounding. What if she was making a mistake? What if he was just a fleeting moment in her life, a beautiful distraction she'd regret later? But as she approached, she caught a glimpse of Ethan leaning closer to the woman with the flowing hair, his laughter ringing out like music. Something twisted in Emma's chest, a sharp pang of envy mixed with something else she couldn't quite name. "Am I really going to do this?" she asked herself, feeling the familiar tug of uncertainty. "Hey, you made it." Ethan's voice cut through the noise, warm and inviting. He turned, a bright smile lighting up his face as he laid eyes on her. "I wasn't sure you'd come." "Yeah. Well, I figured I should seize the day or something," Emma said, forcing a lightness into her voice. He stepped away from the group of women, a subtle shift that made Emma's heart race. "I'm glad you did," he replied, glancing back at the women with a hint of amusement. I should probably escape before I'm roped into a conversation about shoe sizes or whatever. Emma laughed, feeling a flood of relief. So what's your secret? How do you get out of those conversations? Simple. He leaned closer, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. I keep mentioning how great the swings are. Now I know your strategy, she teased. But what if I'm here to expose your secret? Then I'd have to bribe you with coffee, he said, the sincerity in his eyes making her heart flutter. Coffee sounds good, Emma replied, feeling the tension between them shift. It was as if the air crackled with possibilities. Just as they started walking toward the coffee stand, a soccer ball came hurtling toward them again, this time aimed directly at Ethan. Without thinking, Emma stepped in front of him, raising her hands in defense. Wah! She squeaked, barely managing to dodge the ball. It veered off course, hitting a nearby trash can with a loud thud. Ethan burst into laughter, the sound contagious. I think you just saved my life. Just doing my duty, Emma replied, exhilarated by the unexpected moment. Maybe you're not just a marketing expert, Ethan teased, leaning closer, his eyes sparkling. You might be a superhero in disguise. Now that's a stretch, she said, her heart racing at the proximity. I have no superpowers, just a knack for avoiding soccer balls. Or a knack for saving billionaires. His gaze locked onto hers, and for a second, the world around them faded. The spell was broken by the sound of a child's giggle as he ran past, tugging on his mother's hand. Emma felt the heat of embarrassment rise in her cheeks. Maybe I should just stick to my day job. Or not, Ethan replied, his voice low, almost serious. But honestly, I wouldn't mind a sidekick. Emma bit her lip, feeling a rush of excitement blend with uncertainty. A sidekick, huh? Yeah, someone brave. Someone who doesn't shy away from a little chaos, he said, his voice dropping, the intensity in his eyes making her heart skip. Chaos? Is that what you call this? Maybe, he said, stepping slightly closer. Or maybe it's just life, messy, unpredictable, but filled with moments that make it all worth it. The moment hung between them, charged with an unspoken promise. Emma felt her pulse quicken as she caught his gaze, the chemistry undeniable. But then, doubts crept in again. What did she really want? Ethan! She started, but the words faltered. Yeah. He leaned closer, his breath mingling with hers in the cool evening air. I. Emma hesitated, the weight of her uncertainties threatening to pull her back. Hey, it's okay. Take your time. His gentle reassurance wrapped around her like a comforting embrace, but it also ignited an inner struggle. Would stepping into this world, this connection, mean losing herself? Let's just grab that coffee, she finally said, her heart racing. I'll figure it out there. Now you're talking, he replied, his smile bright and inviting. As they walked side by side toward the coffee stand, Emma felt a mixture of hope and fear swirling within her. She was stepping into uncharted territory, and the possibilities stretched before her like an open road. But beneath the surface, the doubts lingered, a reminder of the differences between them that could pull them apart as easily as they had drawn together. In that moment, she realized that choosing to connect with Ethan would be more than just a fleeting encounter. It would be a leap into the unknown, and whether she was ready or not, the journey had begun. The coffee stand stood modestly apart from the playground hubbub, a quaint wooden structure adorned with twinkling fairy lights that had begun to flicker on as the afternoon light faded. Ethan led the way, his energy vibrant as he engaged Emma with light-hearted quips that momentarily pushed the weight of her doubts aside. So, Emma, he began, a playful smirk dancing on his lips. What's your go-to coffee order? I need to know how to fuel my future sidekick. Future sidekick? That's ambitious, she teased playfully. And I'm more of a cappuccino person, but I'll settle for a latte if that's all you got. Cappuccino it is, he declared with mock seriousness. A drink for a woman of class. Emma chuckled, the sound bubbling up naturally. She had almost forgotten the effortless laughter that used to define her days. There was something about Ethan that brought her back to life, and she couldn't help but revel in the newfound lightness. As they reached the stand, the scent of freshly brewed coffee wafted through the air, mingling with the sweet aroma of baked goods. Ethan ordered their drinks and turned to her, leaning against the wooden counter, a casual confidence radiating from him. "So, what's the most adventurous thing you've done?" he asked, curiosity lighting his features. Emma hesitated, her mind scrambling to find something impressive. She led a safe, orderly life, filled with work meetings and charity events. "I once went ziplining in Costa Rica," she finally said, the words feeling foreign on her tongue. "Ziplining? Now that's something," Ethan said, his eyes sparkling with intrigue. "Did you scream or laugh the entire way?" "Both, probably," she admitted, her cheeks warming as she recalled the thrill. "I was terrified at first, but once I got going, it was liberating." "Liberating?" he echoed, his gaze penetrating. "That's a beautiful word. I think we all need more moments like that." With their drinks in hand, they stepped away from the stand, and Emma felt her heart race again. The distant laughter of children faded into a soft hum as they settled onto a nearby bench, the golden light enveloping them like a warm hug. "Okay, my turn," Ethan said, leaning closer, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "What's your biggest fear?" Caught off guard, Emma felt the weight of his question settle in the air between them. "I guess not being enough," she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Not enough for what?" Ethan pressed gently, his expression open and earnest. "Life, I suppose. My job, my relationships. It's like I'm always swimming upstream," she admitted, feeling vulnerable yet strangely safe in his presence. "I sometimes think I might drown." Ethan's gaze softened. "You're not alone in that. I swim in circles trying to prove myself to investors who measure my worth by the dollar. Yet here we are, talking about swimming and coffee," she replied, a smile breaking through. "I like that." Ethan grinned, the momentary seriousness lifting like a curtain. But a flicker of uncertainty crossed his features, and Emma caught it, her heart lurching with concern. "What about you?" she asked, wanting to shift the focus back to him. "What keeps you up at night?" "Sometimes the weight of expectations feels heavy," he admitted. "I built a successful company, but there's always the gnawing fear that it could all disappear. That I'm just one bad decision away from failure." The air around them turned thick with honesty, and Emma sensed the complexity beneath Ethan's charming exterior, the pressure he faced that mirrored her own struggles in a different arena. "Just like that?" she asked, trying to lighten the mood. "You make a bad app and poof, you're done?" He chuckled softly, shaking his head. It's a bit more complicated than that, but I like how you think. In the end, it's all about connections, right?" Emma nodded, feeling the warmth of his gaze on her again. "True, and I appreciate yours," she said, her heart picking up a steady rhythm. Ethan leaned closer, the tension palpable. "You know, I really enjoy this. You're not like the others." "What do you mean by that?" she asked, cocking her head, both flattered and apprehensive. "They don't challenge me," he replied, his voice low yet fervent. "They don't push back or make me think. You actually make me want to be better." A flicker of warmth ignited within her, but a shadow of doubt lingered. "And what if I'm just a distraction, Ethan? Just a brief escape from the world you live in?" Ethan's brow furrowed. "I don't see it that way. You're not a distraction. You're a breath of fresh air. But I understand why you'd think that. What if you wake up tomorrow and realize you prefer the company of someone with more status?" Emma's voice trembled, betraying the insecurity she felt. He took a moment to consider her words, his expression contemplative. "If I'm being honest, I've been surrounded by people who see me as a means to an end. You treat me like a person, not a brand. His sincerity tugged at her heart, and she felt a rush of emotions, a mix of exhilaration and fear. But those people, they know how to navigate your world. And you don't think I'd be interested in someone who challenges that? Ethan asked, a hint of frustration in his tone. Emma, I want to connect with you, beyond the playground, beyond the coffee stand. The intensity of their conversation, paired with the closeness of their bodies, sent a thrill coursing through her. It felt exhilarating yet terrifying to embrace the unknown that lay ahead. Just then, the distant laughter of a child rang out, breaking the moment's tension. Emma looked away, her heart racing. Maybe it's just too soon for me, she murmured, a knot forming in her stomach. Too soon? Ethan echoed, his voice thick with disappointment. I thought we were having a moment. We are, she insisted, turning to face him again. But moments can be fleeting, and I need to know what this is before diving in. Ethan's expression softened, and he reached for her hand, his fingers brushing against hers. Then let's take it slow. Let's discover what this could be, together. His touch sent a jolt through her, and despite her reservations, she couldn't help but lean into the burgeoning connection. Together, she repeated, savoring the taste of the word. Yeah, he said, his thumb grazing the back of her hand as he held it. Let's just enjoy the ride. Emma felt a flutter in her chest, the warmth of his gaze igniting sparks of hope. All right, I can do that, she replied, a tentative smile forming. They fell into a comfortable silence, holding hands as the sun dipped lower on the horizon, casting a soft glow around them. It felt like the world was narrowing down to just the two of them, and for a moment, she allowed herself to dream. What might this lead to? Would it bloom into something beautiful? Or would it fade away like so many fleeting moments before? Ethan broke the silence again, a mischievous glint dancing in his eyes. So, if we're taking it slow, does that mean I can show you my office next? Your office? She laughed, almost choking on her cappuccino as thoughts raced through her mind. And what do you plan to do there? Discuss tech affairs? Show me the latest gadgets. Absolutely, he exclaimed, leaning in with mock seriousness. I have a great collection of spreadsheets and circuit boards you'd love. Wow, you really know how to woo a girl, she countered, unable to suppress her laughter. I can't wait. Hey, it's an essential part of my charm. He feigned offense, tilting his head back dramatically. Is it now? She replied, matching his playful tone with a smirk. I'm just going to have to reconsider my entire life plan based on your spreadsheets. Please do, he said, his voice dripping with humor. I'm dying to see your revised business strategy. The laughter filled the space between them, wrapping around Emma like a warm blanket. In that moment, she felt the weight of her worries lift, replaced by the lightness of possibility. Maybe this wasn't a fleeting distraction after all. Maybe, just maybe, she was ready to explore what lay beyond the playground with Ethan, one coffee and one shared laugh at a time. As the laughter from the playground faded into the background, Emma felt a sense of comfort envelop her, one that had been absent from her life for far too long. She savored the warmth of Ethan's hand enveloping hers, the way his thumb brushed against her skin, igniting sparks of exhilaration that coursed through her veins. So, my office, he said, his voice teasing, is not just spreadsheets and circuit boards. It's also where the magic happens. Emma raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Magic? What kind of magic are we talking about? The kind that makes ideas come to life, he replied, his eyes glimmering with passion. We're working on some groundbreaking tech that could change how we interact with the world. It's exhilarating. Groundbreaking, huh? She said, leaning forward, curiosity piqued. I'd love to hear more about it. Great! So that means you're officially on board for a tour, he declared, his grin impossibly wide, making her heart skip. Only if there's coffee involved, she countered playfully, trying to mask the sudden thrum of nervous anticipation building within her. Consider it a deal, he said, his gaze steady and earnest. And maybe I'll even give you a sneak peek of our secret project." "Now I'm intrigued," Emma said, leaning back and sipping her cappuccino. "Tell me more." Ethan chuckled, the sound deep and rich. "I can't give away all the secrets just yet, but I can promise it's worth your while." As they continued to banter, Emma felt the world around them fade into a soft blur, the only things that mattered being the taste of her coffee and the warmth radiating from Ethan. Their conversation flowed effortlessly, each shared laugh stitching a bond that felt both thrilling and terrifying. "Okay, spill," Emma said, her expression playful yet determined. "What's the most ridiculous thing that's ever happened in your office?" Ethan paused, a thoughtful look crossing his face. "You mean besides the time I accidentally sent a cat meme to my entire company instead of the quarterly report?" Emma burst into laughter, reveling in the absurdity. "You did not." "I did," he admitted, a sheepish grin spreading across his face. "It was epic. Let's just say the investors were not amused, but the team loved it." "I can imagine," Emma said, wiping tears of laughter from her eyes. "I would have loved to be a fly on the wall for that one." "It was a highlight of the year," he replied, leaning in closer, his voice lowering conspiratorially. "But you know what? I think a lot of serious people forget how to have fun. They get too caught up in the grind." "Yeah, I can relate," she said, her voice quieting as she pondered. "Sometimes I feel like I'm just going through the motions at work, trying to keep up with expectations." Ethan's expression shifted, a hint of understanding dawning in his eyes. "I get that. It's easy to lose sight of what really matters." "Right," Emma said, heart racing at his responsiveness. "Life feels so serious all the time." "Then let's make a pact," he proposed, a mischievous glint in his eye. "From now on, we prioritize fun. It's all about balance." With that playful declaration, Emma's heart swelled with warmth. She hadn't realized how much she craved connection and spontaneity until this moment. It was exhilarating and scary all at once. As the sun began to dip lower in the sky, casting a golden hue around them, the atmosphere shifted. Emma felt a stir of emotions bubbling beneath the surface, thoughts spinning as she pondered the implications of their connection. "What if this is just a phase?" she thought, her heart heavy with uncertainty. "What if I'm hurt again?" But before she could spiral too deep, Ethan interrupted her thoughts. "You know," he said, leaning back on the bench, a casual yet intense look in his eyes. "I've never met anyone quite like you, Emma." Her pulse quickened at the sincerity in his tone, the way it wrapped around her like a warm embrace. "What do you mean?" "You just have this energy," he said, his gaze unwavering. "You're genuine, and it's refreshing." "Genuine." "I thought you might find me boring," she admitted, a small laugh escaping her lips, but her heart raced, feeling vulnerable. "Boring? Not at all," he countered, his voice steady. "There's a depth to you that intrigues me. I want to know more." Emma felt a flutter of hope mixed with apprehension. "But what if I'm not what you expect? What if I disappoint you?" Ethan shook his head, his expression earnest. "I don't believe you'll disappoint me, Emma. I see you for who you are, not who you think you should be." His words washed over her like a balm, easing some of the tension coiling tightly within her. Yet, doubt lurked at the edges, an unwelcome companion. Would he still feel that way when the novelty wore off? Ethan must have sensed her hesitation because he reached for her hand, his fingers intertwining with hers again. The contact sent a rush of warmth through her veins. "Let's take it one step at a time, all right?" Emma nodded, her heart racing as she looked into his eyes. "Okay, one step at a time." "Good," he replied, his smile brightening. "So, how about we do something truly ridiculous next time, like trampoline dodgeball?" "Trampoline dodgeball?" Emma laughed, picturing the hilarity of the scene. "You really know how to push the limits of fun, don't you?" "Absolutely," he said, clearly delighted. But only if you promise you won't throw the first ball at me. She felt a rush of exhilaration, a spark igniting between them once more. No promises there. Just then, a group of children ran past, their wild laughter breaking through the moment, reminding Emma of the simplicity of joy. "I wish we could all be like that," she said, gesturing toward the children. "So carefree. Yeah. Chasing dreams without worrying about the weight of the world," Ethan said, his tone softening as he watched them. "I think we all need more of that." "What do you dream about?" Emma asked, genuinely curious. Ethan turned to her, his expression contemplative. "I dream of building technology that can connect people in meaningful ways. And maybe, just maybe, finding someone who understands the beauty in the chaos." The intensity of his words sent a flutter through Emma, the air thick with potential. Someone like that could change everything. "Exactly," he replied, his gaze steady. "And I think I've already found that someone." Her breath caught in her throat, and the world around them faded, the sounds of laughter and chatter becoming a distant hum. "Ethan, Just then, a loud cheer erupted from the playground as a child successfully scored a goal, pulling Emma back into reality. She blinked, her heart racing. What had she been about to say? "Looks like we may need to head back to the swings," Ethan said, breaking the moment. His tone light, but a shadow of disappointment lingered in his gaze. "Maybe," she replied, feeling the weight of unspoken words hanging between them. "But I think I'd rather stay here. With you." "Good choice," he said, leaning closer, his voice dropping to a husky whisper. "I like the sound of that." The tension in the air shifted as his gaze held hers, and for a moment, everything else faded away. Emma felt drawn to him, the magnetic pull of their shared energy sparking an undeniable chemistry. "Let's promise to keep this going, okay?" he said, his voice low. "No matter what happens." "Promise," she replied softly, feeling a rush of warmth as he squeezed her hand gently. But as the sun dipped lower, casting a soft golden glow around them, Emma felt the weight of her uncertainties creeping back in. Would this fleeting connection survive the realities of their worlds? Would she allow herself to let go and embrace what they could become? The questions lingered, echoing in her mind. But one thing was certain. She didn't want to walk away from this. Not yet. As they sat together on the bench, the laughter of the children fading into the distance, Emma felt a sense of hope blooming within her. Perhaps this was the beginning of something beautiful. A journey into the unknown that would challenge her and make her feel alive once more. And in that moment, as she caught Ethan's gaze, she realized she was ready to take that leap. Because for the first time in a long while, she felt like she was exactly where she was meant to be.